Hi, everyone. I'm Dan from JazzComposersPresent.com, an online space where composers, musicians, and listeners come together to celebrate the music we love. I'm joined today by Frank Carlberg, pianist, composer, and faculty member at the New England Conservatory. Frank is here to show us how to effectively incorporate tetrachords into your compositions.
Thanks, Dan, for having me. This idea of exploring tetrachords came out of a kind of like a pursuit and a need and a desire to be a little bit more defined with some harmonic information. In jazz, many times we kind of work with chord symbol terminology and vocabulary, and this is about kind of getting a little bit further into specific voice leading and specific harmonic things that kind of exist beyond chord symbol usage. So tetrachords are basically 4-note groups. And there's a bunch of them. There are 20-something common tetrachords. But I would like to maybe kind of look at a few of them just as a basic definition. So Dan, if you want to look at the first, put out the first slide. And I kind of numbered them there. These are somewhat in random order. I left out tetrachords that I thought were not going to be particularly useful for our kind of discussion here today. So you can think of this in different ways. You can kind of look at it as like the first one being 1 flat 2 3 5. You can also use kind of more kind of like 12-tone number definitions for them. However you want to kind of think about it. You can think of the first one as a major triad with a flat 9, whatever you want, whatever makes it easy for you. So I have 15 of them here. Like I said, there's many more of them. So for instance, the first one being something like this. And in terms of creating harmony out of that, I would kind of separate the notes. They can be in any kind of order or any kind of spacing. So, for instance, in this case, we could, for instance, one option here would be to have. That would be number 1 in that transposition. This is also number 1. And you can kind of like explore the different permutations of that. Here's another number 1. And then, of course, all the different inversions and transpositions and so on. Now, these tend to also kind of correspond with certain chord types, kind of traditional chord types. Now, when you're working with this, I found it helpful to start by looking at what chord types they might each tetrachord might correspond with. Some of them with dominant, some with their major 7, some undefined major chords, some minor chords, and so on. And the other thing that is helpful when you're working with some new material is to maybe sometimes use something pre-existing as a guide. And here I'm kind of like looking at the beginning of the harmonic progression of Stella by Starlight. So that's what we have written right below there. What I then decided to do with that is I'm going to take out some of those chords, but I'm going to keep that progression as my initial source of guidance for how to move around. Otherwise, it might be difficult to kind of really know what to do with these tetrachords. So I look at, you could put the second slide on, Dan. I took out from a bunch of the 2/5s, I took out the 2 chord. I wouldn't say arbitrarily, but it's a choice that you have. You can take anything out. So what I have, instead of the 2/5s in the beginning, I have just the 5 chords with some tetrachords that explore a certain kind of movement and motion. So this progression here actually kind of comes out of the first half of Stella by Starlight. So I'm going to play the chords the way they are here. The numbers here correspond with the numbers that I gave on the previous slide for the different tetrachords. So some of them are repeated. Most of them are used in a certain transposition and so on. So let me just kind of play through the example that we have here. I'm repeating, on purpose, repeating some of the tetrachords more than the others. They're to have kind of a sense of unity. There are several 1s, there are several 10s, there are several 11s, and so on. But you can kind of even narrow it down to fewer than what I do here. In this case, the first tetrachord is, just as an example, is number 10 in a transposition that is actually a B flat transposition. So it's not in C as it's written in the original sheet, and so on. So, but that still kind of works as a dominant sound. And then I go through it like this. You can kind of explore different intervallic relationships, which I found were kind of like interesting and unusual for me, and kind of gets into other areas. I took this beginning. This is not really a reharmonization of Stella by Starlight. It's really kind of more like a new thing. And I used the beginning of what I kind of showed with you here in a piece that I've been working on, which is an upcoming release with my partner for the project, Gabriel Bolaños. This is called Eunoia, which focuses on each vowel in the English language. And this particular one comes from the O chapter, and it has a text, and I'm using this progression as a kind of a backdrop for that text. But then it's also expanded. So it's kind of starts along the lines of what I used as my kind of example of Stella here, and then kind of goes into other areas. So we can listen to about a minute and a little bit more than a minute of this one. So this one is called O from Eunoia.
Profs from Oxford show Frosh, who do postdocs, how to gloss works of words work. Dons who work for proctors or provosts do not fall off school to work on crosswords, nor do dons go off to dorm rooms to loll on cots. Dons go cross town to look for bookshops, known to stock lots of top-notch goods, cookbooks, workbooks. One room of how-to books for jocks. How to jog, how to box. Books on
I should also say that the piano is electronically processed there, so it's not just a kind of a cheap home recording. It is actually purposefully sounding the way it is. Anyway, I hope these tetrachords will kind of yield some interesting things for you and keep you busy exploring.
Thanks for watching today's mini lesson. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Drop any questions, comments, or suggestions for future videos down below. To watch our full-length events and participate in live Q&As with our presenting artists, head to jazzcomposerspresent.com. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.